Thank you for participating in this webinar on cybersecurity and educational perspective. Thank you, Praxis, for letting me moderate this session. We'll discuss an important topic today, which is very important for all of you, particularly with respect to your careers. We have with us here today Computer Society of India, who are partnering this program as well. And we have Mr. Shourav Chakraborty, who is the Vice Chairman, Computer Society of India, Kolkata Chapter. So without any delay, I hand it over to Shourav for his inaugural address. Shourav, over to you.
Thank you, Nirubom. Uh, a warm welcome to all the delegates and registered participants for today's program on cybersecurity and educational perspective. I will just talk briefly as to how this idea came to our mind. Probably some 3 weeks back, I was talking with the director of Praxis, and he gave me a proposal as to whether we can do a joint program on this. And I said, okay, fine, let me think over it, because the idea is that if we have to do any program, we have to keep in mind that we have to make it completely successful. So as you know that cyber security is currently one of the hottest topics that we can talk in IT, and it has now become a regular feature in the sense that every day when we open our newspaper in the morning, you will definitely find one news on cyber security in any of the pages. The question is that the reason why Computer Society of India has joined hands with the Praxis Business School is mainly because of the fact to explore the various areas of cybersecurity. And one of the areas that we have identified is the education segment. In fact, Praxis Business School already have a cybersecurity lab at Salt Lake Sector 5. And I understand that they have been teaching this subject for quite a good number of years and have a good faculty strength also. So CSI is already into education segment for quite some time, as you know, and we are doing our summer training program and winter training programs on all from participants, mainly from Macaut engineering colleges, and we have tied up with Macaut also to join so that their students can join for the various summer and winter training courses. Question is that when we do some program with Praxis, the idea is that uh, we should do something very concrete in nature, and we draw up a plan. And I'm happy to say that we have a galaxy of speakers with us today, and they are all experts in their individual fields. I'm sure this program will come out with some interesting thoughts and will definitely throw lights in the right directions. I know a good number of people have participated in this program. It may be close to around 250 people who have registered for this program. And I'm also happy to know that the participants are very, very diversified in nature. They are not only from within the country, they are also from abroad. I'm very happy that Praxis has taken a very key role in making this program a great success. We have been continuously in touch with Praxis for the last 10 days on a regular basis. And I must thank Praxis, particularly Tathagato and his team, for giving us a very good support. So let us not waste time, as we have a very good, very nice panel who will be discussing on the various facets of cybersecurity. And I think it is high time that we take up this matter right away and hear from the experts on this particular subject. So with these few words, I hand over the session to Nirupam. Thank you, Nirupam.
Yeah, thank you, Shourabh. I understand that we have with us here today Dr. Aniruddha Nag, who is the chairman of the Computer Society of India, Kolkata Chapter. So, Dr. Nag, we would like to hear from you your thoughts.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you. Let me tell you from the very outset, let me tell you that I am very happy that Praxis has organized this nice seminar, or rather timely seminar, with Computer Society of India. Let me tell you a little about Computer Society of India. Computer Society of India is the oldest and the largest organization of IT and allied professionals in India. CSI is a non-profit professional society formed by dedicated to computing to exchange views and information, learn and share ideas. The wide spectrum of members is committed to the advancement of theory and practice of computer engineering and technology systems, science and engineering, information processing, and related arts and sciences. CSI has a natural responsibility to play a pivotal role in shaping a digital India. Computer Society of India's missions are three. One, facilitate research, knowledge sharing, learning, and career enhancement among all categories of IT professionals. Number two, inspire, nurture, and assist students to integrate into the IT community. And number three, percolate benefits of IT advancement to all sections of Indian society. CSI Kolkata chapter is very old, more than a 60 years old, and we have got a very good numbers of members database. Now, in this year, during pandemic, we have organized many seminars on cyber security. Today, you can say the extension of our program cyber security with a different angle or with a different dimension. On 26th September, we organized one cyber security webinar, and our speaker was very famous lawyer, public prosecutor, Mr. Bihas Chatterjee. He nicely told us all the nitty-gritties of cyber security and how we can combat these fraudsters who are very active in the web. Before I conclude, because students, people, and others have joined this webinar because they want to hear, want to learn the nuances of cyber security from the experts. So before wasting much more time, I should tell everyone that during pandemic, we are going to organize three seminars, or you can say international conferences. One is in the month of January, we are organizing Hackathon 2021. It will be in online mode. Everything will be in online mode. In the month of February, we are organizing EIT, that is international conference, and that is also in online. And in the month of March, we are going to organize international conference on advanced computing. So I believe together we can and we will win the game. So that's all. I handed over this mic to Mr. Saurabh Chakraborty and others to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nag. We have with us here today Mr. Charanpreet Singh, who is the founder director of Praxis Business School Foundation. So, CP, if you would like to share your experience and your thoughts on cybersecurity as a career.
Thank you, Nirupam, and thank you to everybody who's part of this webinar today. I'm very happy to meet Dr. Anirudh Nag here, and I've already spoken to Mr. Saurabh Chakraborty. Welcome to the luminaries of the cybersecurity corporate world, Mr. Manas Sharkar, Mr. Kaushik Nath, and Mr. Anup Deb, sorry. So yeah, so what I'm just going to say three things. I'm going to talk about three things because I think we need to set the context of why we are talking about cybersecurity today. The three things are, the first one is, what is so digital about the digital world and how does it impact our lives and our, careers? The second one is, what do we need to do to navigate this digital world and build successful careers and also lives? And finally, what does Praxis, intend to do here? And why are we so excited about our partnership with or collaboration or association with the CSI. So very quickly, when we look at the digital world, it's basically, to me, it's, we kind of communicate and do everything through this thing called the internet. And we have digital devices, we have smart devices, devices that we can work with, devices that talk to each other. So this is the mesh which creates this digital world. And it is rapidly impacting the way we live, the way we eat, consume, the way we learn, the way we work, the way we lead our lives. Right. And so, I mean, if you want to look at the way it impacts us, what happens here is that, for example, today we order cooked food from Swiggy, we watch films on Netflix, we make friends on Facebook, we hire a car which is kind of driven by more by technology than by anything else to go from one place to the other. And tomorrow we are going to hire a car which will have no driver. So you will have the car for company and nobody else, right? And all of this is being driven by what we broadly call digital technologies. So how does that impact our lives? We have to now, in some way, question, revisit, and sometimes disrupt both our social and business models that we have today. And that's what's going to happen with this whole digital world, right? And so, which also tells us that we have to be more resilient, we need to be more adaptable, and we need to embrace this change. Because if we have to live in the world which is changing, and to embrace this change, I come to my second point: how do we navigate this world? To me, this whole digital world eventually is about two things. It's about data and about technology. So to be able to navigate this world and build careers, we should be able to be fluent in understanding and working with data, and fluent and literate in working with technology. And what can we do with this data and technology? We can make this data available, we can analyze this data, and we must secure this data. Right? So the moment we talk about a digital technology driven by data and tech, I think securing our data becomes extremely important, which is why cybersecurity is, in my opinion, the most key component, the most critical component, if the world has to digitize at the pace that it is digitizing today. Because if we cannot protect our companies, and our nation's data, then I think this journey is not going to happen at all, right? So this is where cybersecurity comes in. So in one of the things that we can do when we want to navigate and build successful careers is look for these, hotspots. I think Saurav talked about it earlier. It's one of the hottest things going, not because it's glamorous or it requires some unique skill. It's just that it is incredibly important, and anything which is important becomes hot, right? And the second thing is, we do not have the kind of and the number of trained resources in this field that we need desperately today. So I could give you a huge list of numbers, but I will just give you a couple. There was a study, or there was an interview by Business Standard of the head of IBM, and he made a statement that India requires 3 million trained cybersecurity people today. Right. So and there was a PwC report which said that the cybersecurity market is going to grow by about 16% compounded in the next 3-4 years. Now these are huge numbers to look at. When you look at the other side of the economy, there's a downturn. There is the COVID influence. It's difficult to get jobs. It is difficult to retain jobs. So in given this environment, you have one skill here where companies are looking for people. So I think it makes immense sense to explore this as one of your career options. So this was one part of the second part of what I wanted to say. And the third part, very briefly, is what does Praxis do? So we are a business school, so a lot of people ask us, what are you doing in cybersecurity? So the answer to that is that, right from the start of our B school, we've always been close to technology. The B school is run by people who are from the technology background. And we feel that today business and technology are not two different things. They're, business models depend on technology. So We are very tech-driven and data-driven in our curriculum. We run courses in data science, we run courses in data engineering, and we run courses in cybersecurity, because we feel that to be good business managers, you need to be able to understand and fathom and work with these different areas. And which is why we are excited about joining the Computer Society of India. It's the oldest body of professionals in this computer science domain. We would have love to have their support in terms of collaborating to design and deliver the right programs to the right people, so that they can skill or reskill themselves and join this workforce that we require in our country. And also use the offices of CSI to increase our reach and reach out to more people. So we've already had discussions with the West Bengal government. We've already had discussions with Macau, and I'm happy to learn that CSI works very closely with Macau. So I think we all become part of that ecosystem, where we want to reach out to everybody, and we want to bring them the kind of skills and the kind of content that they can profit from and build careers around. So thank you very much for coming here and participating in this, and thank you very much for listening to me. And I hand it over to Nirupam. I think you can go ahead and start the panel discussion and tell us everything about what cybersecurity is all about. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, CP. It's always good to hear from you. And as CP was saying, do not become dinosaurs with respect to the skills that you possess. You need to update yourself constantly with the skills that are there persisting in the market. Let me introduce the esteemed panelists for this evening's discussion. It's good to have people from the business side, from the technical side, and the commercial side. So you'll get to know as to what is happening in the business, what are the skill sets that are there. So let me introduce Mr. Manoj Sarkar, who is the Director Business Development, Mediterranean, Middle East, and Africa, Trend Micro. Welcome, Manojda.
Thank you, Nirupam.
Mr. Onup Deb, who is the Lead Managed Detection and Response Practice, Asia Pacific and Japan, Palo Alto Networks. Welcome, Onup.
Thank you very much, Nirupam.
And Mr. Kaushik Nath, who is the Security Architect of Cisco Systems. Welcome, Kaushik Nath.
Thank you, Nirupam.
I forgot to share my introduction. My name is Nirupam Sen. I'm the business head east of British Standards. We are the national standards body of the UK. We are into auditing and certification with best practices like information security, business continuity, etc. There was a question from one of the participants there, whose name was Dipayan Dash, perhaps. Just to correct you there, the institute's name is Praxis. It's not Praxair. Praxair manufactures industrial gases, but the institute that we are talking about is Praxis Business School. And we don't have PPTs. It's an open panel, so we'll discuss everything here. So just to set the context for today's topic, we are moving towards a rapidly digitalized world, and all of us are traveling on the information superhighway. While we also suffer from a lot of information overload through numerous social media apps, some of us are finding it difficult to take decisions with respect to the curriculums which are future ready. That is, the curriculums and the skill sets which I should develop, which should increase one's employability. So today we will talk about the hot skill of cybersecurity. So we have kind of divided our discussions into a few sections. First, we'll talk about COVID-19. Post COVID-19 coming, we are looking at a next normal way of working, wherein the organizational boundaries have gone beyond a standalone office and they've gone to working from homes. Why should cybersecurity be important? What are the careers in cybersecurity? We'll talk a little bit about the skill sets and the specializations that are there in cybersecurity. We'll also talk about the future trends, maybe just one or two of them that are there with respect to cybersecurity that would come up in the near future. And from a student's perspective, we'll also discuss as to where to start if I want to take up cybersecurity as a career. So considering the next normal, COVID-19 with the pandemic setting in, we all are working from homes. Let me ask Manojda first. So how do you see the global and national threat landscape pre-COVID and post-COVID time? And what should our role be to keep it protected?
Thanks, Nirupam. I think before getting into this one, You have asked the right question, because if we don't understand the threat scenario globally, right, and even in India, what is happening in and around us, then it will be difficult for us. Then we are trying to address that why cybersecurity is very, very important. If you see that, I will talk about something pre-COVID and some information about post-COVID, what is our experience is all about. If you see that, cyber criminals activities are increasing day by day, and it was every year. If you see the last 10 years data points, if you see that in every aspect it is growing, growing beyond control sometimes. For an example, let's say, and best part of it, if you'll see that, we call it the bad guys, right? Now, initially it was a hacker. Now we call it the cyber crime. There is a motive behind it, right? What is the motive is? Motive is to making money out of it. That's why when it is driven by financial desire, and the people want to make money out of it, then really it is difficult to fight. That means the back end, the guys, they are organized. They are actually designing, devising their attacks, and they are playing with all new tools and technologies, and they try to address, they try to steal your information. And as CP mentioned, right? And you see, data is new oil today, right? If you have data, then you can do anything and everything. That's why if I steal data, then I can make money out of it. That's the objective behind it. If you see that, the ransomware, what is happening in early, beyond, if it is 2019 and 2020, early, I think first quarter of 2020, we have observed a 77% increase in terms of ransomware attacks to the industry. Now, ransomware attack can happen, what is this all about? Ransomware attack means they will encrypt your machine by different ways and means. I'm getting into the details of the technology, but then they'll ask money that if you give me ransom, then only I will decrypt your, that means then you can use your data or application. There is an increase of 77%. If you see that lately you have seen, now, Verizon data breach detection the report, all right, they release every year. This year they have released the report, and that see if there is an increase of 97% of 94% of email attacks. That means whenever you are communicating to others, you are communicating through mails, and mail become main important channel for anyone to getting breached, because whenever you are getting mails, you are tend to click into the links, and there will be some offers, and this is how the increase in terms of email attacks. Then I'll talk about, there is a different school of thoughts, but I will talk about overall 5 different cyber threats, which is we have to be cautious about it. One is the ransomware. It is very dangerous. It can actually encrypt your machine, or even can organizational wise. Even now it has gone to data centers. If data center servers are encrypted, then they will ask huge money, and you don't have any option to pay them. And how they will ask pay that money? They will ask you to pay that money through bitcoins, right? Now, then another is phishing. We have to be very cautious about the phishing attacks, what's happening, right? It is very, very important. Another, the data leakage, right? Then hacking, then insider threats. Some of the organizations you will have that, two types of attacks we see: the outside in and inside out. Now, outside in means someone doesn't have any access to a network. They will try to intrude you. Another one is outside in, probably somebody inside the organization probably sometimes is doing some malicious activities. That is another option. Second option, what I've seen in the post-COVID scenario, as an organization who do research on that, we have seen 220% increase, 220 times increase of spam vis-a-vis January 2020 and March 2020. If you see that this is the impact of, you see a lot of COVID-related spam started coming in your mailbox. So many mails are coming, whether sometimes it's good, bad, ugly, and you don't know. Another is, you see this, we have observed 26 to 260% increase in malicious URL hits. That means whenever users are going to hit the URLs which is actually malicious in nature. This is happening, and it is not about only in India or Europe or Middle East or APAC region. The highest hit in the malicious websites are from US. That's what we came to know. Another important thing is, I think a lot of people have heard about DDoS attack, distributed denial of services attack. How it happens, right? This is this is your if you see attacks are designed. Now, how it is designed? It is distributed. That means your mobile phone, which is connected to the internet, or your laptop or your desktop in the organization, it can contribute to the bot activity, right? That means how the bot actors does it, they use your machine, they use your internet connectivity and launch an attack to somebody else. That's why there is an increase of DDoS attack, 300% increase, to be very precise, 336% increase in DDoS attack in last 2 quarters. That means and it is Q2 and Q3. That means a post-COVID situation. This is the global data. And what Arbor is, Arbor is one of the DDoS service providers. They are largest in this world. And in this mid-August 2020, a relative prolific threat actors indicated a global campaign of DDoS extortion attacks. Now they're giving something. This is now asking for extortion. If you don't pay me this money, I'm going to launch an attack. And the attack size, they are giving a demonstration of 2 terabytes of attack. That means some cases, some of the countries' whole bandwidth network is 2 terabytes, less than 2 terabytes. And if they launch an attack, then whole country's network will be impacted. Right? This is a global scenario of what's happening. Now come to in India. I think on 19th of September, National Security Advisor, he mentioned that there is an increase of 500% of cyber crimes due to limited awareness and lack of cyber hygiene. Now, in the COVID era, we are talking about hand hygiene, right? We are maintaining hygiene. We have in the cyberspace, we have to maintain our hygiene as well. And you see this whether when National Security Advisor or in the press is mentioning this, there's an increase of 500%, and financial frauds have been exponential increase. That means, and he's suggesting when you are using our all the financial activities in the network, we have to be very cautious about it. It is not only you are securing your data, you're securing your money. At the same time, you are contributing to the betterment of the country's security. That is very, very important, because every individual in the country, you are having a device, you can be used as an attacker to somebody else. That's what we have as a responsible citizen. What I need to do, we have to be very cautious about it, what we are doing it, what we are downloading, what we are accessing, what we are sharing everywhere. We should be very cautious. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for us. Back to you, Nirupam.
Yeah, thank you, Manojda. There, I see a lot of questions already coming up, but they are kind of situational based. However, we'll try to keep the Q&A for this session kind of career oriented. Don't worry, we'll take up questions at the end of the session, because we've got lots to discuss. To answer Major's question here, who he has said whether the corporate world is at all equipped to take up these cyber threats, whereas cyber threats coming from China in Ladakh, the army is prepared. There is this huge skill set gap, as we have already started discussing, and that is where the corporates need to catch up. Because of this skill set gap, we are looking at full-time courses in cybersecurity. So anyway, let's move to Kaushikda. Kaushikda, your thoughts on the post-COVID situation? How is the industry and business shaping up post-COVID-19? If you can touch upon the skill set gap as well.
Yeah, so I mean, regarding the skill set gap, probably there is a separate session you have kept.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
so let me address first the the business, how the businesses are shaping up post COVID or during this COVID period. We are not yet post COVID. So McKinsey did a survey in the month of April 2020, and the same survey was repeated in September last month 2020, just to check what is the level of optimism or pessimism among the business leaders globally. Okay, and what came out, 93% of the Chinese business leaders say that they see growth, they see optimistic way of doing business globally. And India, the figure is 62% Indian business leaders think that the growth is about to happen. It is just poised for, Indian economy is just poised for growth. And USA, it is 49%, business leaders see that the growth is there. Now, what is driving this thought process? Why business leaders think that business is going to grow, much faster than it was anticipated in the month of April 2020, because that time the sensation was a little bit of in a pessimistic side rather than optimistic side. So primarily there are two reasons. One is whatever happened due to COVID related progress. So when I look at that, you can see that globally huge healthcare budget inflow has happened, which was never happened. Every country invested a lot of money and resources and everything into building infrastructure to take care of the healthcare issues. There has been large scale rapid test equipments and facilities have been developed, and today you can see that COVID test can be done within 15 minutes. Okay, so these are huge developments. And next is robust pipeline of vaccines and therapeutic candidates. Now these are the factors which are basically influencing your thought that are we controlling COVID or COVID is controlling us? Okay, so these are basically indicators that yes, we are in a much better control of COVID situation, and hence business will definitely grow than in the month of April 2020. So and when I look into the business side of it, so all the leaders see that businesses have adopted digitization acceleration programs much more quickly and efficiently and effectively during this COVID period. Okay, so one of the figure which is very, very surprising to me also, that one of the organization, large financial organization in the world, their data shows that they were unable to drive change in terms of adopting digital technologies for last 5 years. But since March, those changes have been adopted within 5 weeks. Can you believe it? So, so what changed? Did the technology change, or did what changed? Basically, they find out it is a change of mindset. People mindset have changed, and they are now more proactive in terms of adopting new technology, digital technologies than before. The other what happened in the business side is a supply chain improvement. If you look at globally, it has impacted, as at the same time it has also grown significantly. And the third thing which is business is looking very, very positively is the automation. The amount of automation, the broadness of automation happening across the industry is huge, and that is all infused with AI and other technologies. So if I may say that the crisis, this particular crisis has forced every company into a massive experiment in how to be nimble, how to be agile or flexible, and how to be fast. But and just going fast is not the answer. So rather, winning companies are investing in the technology, data, processes, people to enable speed through better decision and faster course correction based on what they learned during this particular COVID phase. So here are the 5 trends which I believe probably is driving the next wave of digital transformation. First is digital speed. Corporates have seen we have seen that 4 times faster development compared to their peers in terms of moving talent and capital. Those organizations who have adopted digital technologies, they are 4 times faster than other companies. Second is ready to invent. So business as usual is a term which is very, very dangerous today. In today's context, if you say that it is business as usual, probably you are getting to be disrupted. So the mantra is that you should invent and reinvent at every possible way, and probably the best way to invent and reinvent is to adopt technology, because that will make your entire process much more faster. The third is all in, and I look at from a 360-degree angle, and it is not only faster, you have to move faster, but you have to take bold decisions. You see, in this COVID pandemic situation, there have been so many acquisitions happened, across the globe. People are betting with their capitals. Okay. The fifth is data-driven decisions. Now, the road to recovery is paved with data. I mean, this is a no-brainer. So research shows that 20% of performance improvement contributed by data-driven decisions, and this is a proven fact. Last but not the least is that customer followers. So it has been observed that 20 to 50% business gains are achieved by businesses who remain focused towards their customers during the turbulent times. So I think this sums up basically why, what is the way forward, what are the things business need to do post COVID, till we see the end of the COVID era. But this is the way to go forward, Nirupam.
Thank you, Kochikda. It is indeed, Ben Shapiro said that it is a competition of business models. So, as and when you make your business model robust, agile, and adaptive to the changes that are happening in the scenario, then you become more resilient as an organization. So let's move to Anup. So, what do you see are the emerging trends in the market with respect to cybersecurity, and why is cybersecurity important with respect to these emerging trends as such?
So first of all, thank you, Nirupam, and thank you, Tathagot and CPDA for inviting me here. Uh, so um, so let me tell you what we are observing in the market, right? So the few major mega trends that we are observing, and some of the panelists have already shared about it, right? And in fact, CPDA also started off by talking about the digital world. And so the first mega trend that we see is in terms of the what do we call digital transformation, right? So the organizations have already started adopting and embarking on a journey of digital transformation. And what do you mean by digital transformation as such, right? So if you look at digital transformation, I will just look at and the way we communicate, the way we collaborate, right? So most of the tools are moving across into multi-hybrid cloud environment, and so applications are moving across into the cloud, and constantly the software development lifecycle itself is changing, right? And therefore it opens up a big challenge as to how are you going to protect and defend, right, against the expanded what you call surface area, right? So and the acceleration of the COVID-19 actually has accelerated the adoption of this digital transformation as such, right? And I can give a couple of examples here, right? So if you look at even look at our mail, right? Email, which is everybody use email for correspondence, right? And either it is in a platform supported by Microsoft or supported by Google, right? So and it's easy way that how you keep your mails protected, right? So that's one of the major challenge that a cybersecurity professional has to look at, right? So that is one of the trends, and more so we are looking at most of the workload, mission critical applications are now getting migrated around to cloud environments to make it more agile, right? So that's one of the trends that we see. The second trend that we see is, interestingly, is around workplace transformation. And when I say workplace transformation, I mean, and COVID-19 is really a testimony of how important it is in terms of ensuring that we could operate in a world connected in a remote environment, right? So that's the second major challenge that we see, right? So how do we keep ourselves, connected? How do we keep ourselves productive, engaged, right? And how do we keep ourselves secure? It requires both in terms of our mindset and in terms of operational changes, right? So this is the second change that we as a trend that we look at, right? And that is a serious introspection and challenge for cybersecurity professionals like us as to how we protect in the new normal of a workplace environment that is going to be remotely connected. It's going to be driven through automation, and it's going to be driven through artificial intelligence, right? Uh, the third aspect of the mega trend that we see is in terms of, and I think Kaushik, or one of the panelists, would have touched upon, is in terms of the supply chain disruption that is happening, right? And when we say supply chain disruption, you could look at some of the emerging trends of the 5G rollout happening across, and computing getting into the edge, right? So that is another trend that we look at, and seriously we believe that supply chain is going to be a major change that's going to impact all of us, right? And allow me to share one example here of what we have seen in terms of supply chain disruption, right? So here in Singapore, where I live, we have seen in the month of April or so, and with all sort of restrictions across globally, there was a challenge of supplying medicines to a ship, and the first commercial drone was applied to carry medicines and vitamins across to a ship, where it was around 2.5 kg weight of what do you call medicine, and it traveled 2.7 kilometers of distance within 7 minutes, right? And this was the first commercial beyond visual line of sight commercial drone. And so imagine this kind of transformation which is going to happen, and this is going to be part of our life. And Sippy also touched upon some of the aspects around autonomous vehicles and so on and so forth. So you look at some of the companies that have started building up those capabilities, right? So this three trends that we see are major trends. I'll also touch upon one of the important aspects of, while there is a transformation going around what we call digital transformation, workplace transformation, supply chain disruption, there is this impact that our data needs to be secured, and everyone in this panel have touched upon. So governments are now therefore putting in tremendous amount of regulatory compliances aspects of how you govern your data, right? So how you comply to your data. And so compliances are becoming another very critical component for cybersecurity professionals to follow, because your data is moving across in a multi-cloud environment, and the data needs to be safeguarded, it needs to be protected. And so compliance is a major challenge that we see. And so this is also in India as well, right? So there is a data privacy, the Indian government is starting off their data privacy act. I think it has been tabled last December in the Indian Parliament, and has gone for a joint parliamentary committee review. And so we will see those kind of regulatory compliances coming in. We have all heard about GDPR in Europe. In the US, we talk about the Californian Act. The California Act is becoming as draconian as what we have in GDPR, right? So more and more compliances are also going to come in. So these are the four kind of, if I've got to summarize, are some of the trends that we are observing. And in each of these phases, cybersecurity professionals have to play a very important and a critical role.
Thank you, Anup. Good to hear from you. You also touched upon the GRC aspects, governance, risk, and compliance, which I also feel is very important for organizations these days to make them secure. I see a good bit of parallel discussion going on in the Q&A or the chat section, wherein there are a lot of techies who are themselves giving questions and answering, which is good in one way. We don't have to answer your questions. By the way, there was a question about the cybersecurity course by Praxis. You can always refer to the website for details on this course. But as we go forward with the discussions, we'll slowly discuss about these courses and what all skill sets you should develop. So, Kaushikdar, let me ask you, so why, if we talk about cybersecurity, why cybersecurity? So what is the impact of data security while we talked about this digital transformation happening? So what is the impact of data security while organizations travel through this digital transformation?
Yeah, I think this is probably very, very important to understand that what is the connection between digital transformation and security. So what happens, what is digital transformation? That is, you fundamentally, you are changing the way you work, your culture, right? That is what digital transformation to me. So when you change a culture, eventually what happens is that you are exposed to certain things. And one of those certain things is in a digital platform is cybersecurity. Let's take an example. Say, if you are taking your entire workload workload, I mean, using a technical word, probably for the larger audience, workload is server. Say for an example, a server, which was inside your office in a closed room, you are putting that server, which we call it as a workload, to cloud. Say it can be a Azure cloud or an Amazon cloud or a Google cloud. Okay, the moment you do that, every employee or every user who used to use that or connect to that particular server in a very secure channel within the office, there is no threat from outside, so on and so forth. It was all LAN. Now suddenly it becomes WAN. You are traveling, your data packet is traveling through insecure channel to reach to that particular cloud. So the whole domain is now completely changed. So the kind of security privilege you used to enjoy within your office is gone. There is no perimeter, right? Your edge device, and suddenly there is cloud, and you have to travel through those insecure zones to reach to the cloud and access that particular server. So that is what one of the exposure. Now, if you, if you think from a business point of view, or from a what are the steps business should take to ensure that their digital transformation is protected from cyber threats and risks. Probably they can take five. I'm very fond of getting into each and individual aspects of it. So first step probably an organization can do is to take a strategy driven initiatives. So if you look at, today cybersecurity is a business issue. It is no more a IT issue. Earlier, when I used to drive IT operations, everything related to security becomes an IT challenge. Business was not the owner of that. So that culture has changed. And if you today ask that what is the effectiveness of cybersecurity, it doesn't only mean to CISO organization. Today, it includes every possible department and function of the business. And strategic initiative captures the executive vision, their imagination, and the way they want to manage the risk and enable business innovation. Okay, that's number one. Number two is that you develop detailed, probably very, very meticulous risk management capability. So better cybersecurity requires the ability to make rigorous fact-based decisions about a company's most critical risk. And that will give you a direction that where to invest, where not to invest, where to focus and where not to focus in terms of investment of resources, time, money, so on and so forth. The third big aspect is that you build cybersecurity into the products and services from day one. That means security should be ground up rather than it should be ad hoc. Okay. So the design, say, let's take an example, the design of an IoT product tomorrow, you cannot think of building security on top of it. You have to build right from the beginning, from the architecture design level. Okay. Like build secure and convenient customer interaction processes, like collaboration platforms and so on and so forth, and create digital value chain that protects customer data. So this should be the approach rather than adding security at a later stage, which keeps or creates a lot of loopholes. Probably the the fourth one is that enable digital technology delivery. So what happens is that when we make the digital journey, you cannot leave the other field, like say for an example, service delivery, slow. If you keep that slow, what will happen is that your digital transformation journey will become very slow. It will impact that. So adoption of fast and secure delivery mechanism is a must, like adoption of cloud, DevOps, DevSecOps, Agile, site reliability engineering, so on and so forth. And last but not the least is that you help others to address business impact of COVID-19. Like this global pandemic has created three basic imperatives for cybersecurity team. One is to secure the remote workers. Second, mitigate all the risks which are there in the organization. And third, pull those business partners who are really facing difficulties during this transition time. Okay, and moving into the new normal. So probably these are my thoughts, Nirupam, towards that.
Right. Thank you, Coach Xdr. Interesting thing that you touched upon, and as Onup also said, the boundaries of cyberspace have gone beyond an organization. They have moved to the supply chain side as well, wherein we look at supply chain disruptions with respect to business continuity, and something with respect to the what audience is discussing, something that CP touched upon at the very beginning, and we have been discussing as well. Cyber security will not be, I would say, you cannot make an organization secure with only technology. You need to have a combination of people, processes, and technology. So most of the organizations, they make themselves technologically very sound, and however they miss out on the people and the process part of it. So that is where the lacuna is mainly is. Let's ask Manojda.
Yeah.
With respect to cybersecurity, why cybersecurity is required, or should be the focus in these challenging times?
Yes, thanks, Nirupam. It was interesting discussion. Anup and Kaushik has mentioned. You see, cybersecurity is not required today only, right? After this, in the COVID situation, cybersecurity was always required. In my initial days, we used to go to customers, right, to talk about cybersecurity. I had some conversation with customers. Some of the customers used to tell that time, who will steal my data? Why? What they will do with my data? And that scenario has changed, right? If you go and ask someone that everybody knows, not even organization, even individual knows his data is important. At least that education is happened, and still we have to go further. But in this post the pandemic situation, right? What that what Kaushik was mentioning, we're talking about digital transformation. It was driven by board of the companies, or the CIO's imperative was to the digital transformation. Now, one person has joined in the industry. His name is COVID-19. He has done this right over a period. I think overnight he has pushed it that okay, you have to go for digital transformation. You see, 10% of people of organizations used to log in to remotely to their work to do their jobs, right? Now it is 90% of people of the lot of organizations, even already a lot of large organization. I know an Indian organization having 500,000 employees. They have mandated 70% of their employees will work from home till 2025. That means with whatever it was required for a couple of years, and overnight in 90 days they took the decision and things are moving. It is not that things have stopped, right? Now when you are doing this, I can give some lot more examples. What is happening to work from home is one part of it, right? It is more of organizations. They take the decisions. They connect you to VPN. They facilitate all these functionalities. You keep secure. Another one is e-learning. How see over a period of time, and I think very short period of time, all the schools has moved to e-learning processes. I know you cannot really replace the human touch in the classroom studies, but in this situation, still you can have that. If you see, the globally you have doors are open, and interestingly, what in my experience is people have started learning music over internet on Zoom calls, right? And even if you see the guy, you have to think from the business point of view. See, let's say one good music teacher, probably Bengalis are known for music, right? And they are based in India or in Kolkata or some other places. Then you have to physically go and learn from him, or right, for this one. Now they can extend this. They can teach. They can train to students across the globe. It will open up the business model for them. What we need to think about it, how we can do it securely, right? This is our job, but this is a big opportunity it has opened up. And I personally believe that any crisis comes with it gives some opportunity to reinvent. Now what was not happening for a long time, it has happened overnight, and people are doing this, and I think this will help us a lot. Now in the COVID-19 situation, post-COVID-19 situation, or during COVID-19 situation, what should be the security model? I'm referring not on the organization. I'm talking about starting from the individual. If there is a model, we used to talk. We used to go to the customer. We used to present that. What is the security model for you? How you should do that? And you see, immediately I see a lot of synergy between a virus pandemic, right, and the virus attack across the globe in our life. At the same time, virus attack in the corporate world, in the IT infrastructure. Now, what countries have done? What the countries have done and responded into the pandemic? First, they have done prevent the infection. To prevent the infection, what are the steps they have taken? They have social distancing, work from home, then lockdown. These are the prevention mechanisms they have taken. Then they have done a second phase is detect the cases, detection front. What they have done? Okay, tracing, tracking and isolating. This is the detection. They have to detect it. They have to, WHO was talking about test, test, and test. That means first you test it. Then, another is once it's tested, how to respond to it. The respond means, okay, people have started working, all the countries have started working, creating vaccination, that increased medical supplies, started building quarantine centers. They have planned was created to give ventilators, right? This is a response mechanism. Another one is the predict cases. That means government have started thinking that what would be the epicenter of this kind of attack. We have to probably lock down that place. We have to make more something like Dharavi in Mumbai. What has happened? This is identified this case. Same thing if we used to talk to the customers and in our cyberspace, and the same model. If you see what are the cybersecurity threat model is prevent, detect, respond, and predict. That means prevent means you have to have your system hygiene. That means I'm not talking about only for the organization. I was seeing some of the questions are coming up, how we can prevent from ransomware attacks, right? How we can see none of the ransomware attack comes on the fly. What you do, if you are using a mobile phone, you're using a Windows machine, you're using a Mac machine, always please keep it up to date. Whenever all the organizations, even the OEM providers, the software providers providing a patch, please patch it up. Don't go for free things, right? You will get some mails, your WhatsApp messages and everything that if there is a free something, you click into it. Once you go click into it, that means it may drop a malware. That malware will be installed in your machine and can encrypt your machine. This is how it's done. That means prevention, that means patching up your machine, your systems, your surveillance are there. Then detect. If you prevent, still something will happen. If something has happened, then you have to detect it. Then if you detect something, then how to respond to it? You have to have a response mechanism. Again, you have to, and this is a predictive analysis. Then you talk about all AI, machine learning based, and all the new technologies that are coming up, right? And people are using it for prediction of new threats. And we talk about some of the scarier objectives as well, right? And when we talk about that, I'll get into this one, that the threat hunting. Threat hunting, you do it for your for predicting that what kind of new threats are coming up in the industry. That means this is a continuous assessment. If you do it once, then it is because other guys are dynamic. Now, if you have to be very dynamic, very agile, and this is a process you have to continuously focus on it, right? This is how actually I would like to summarize the discussion, that cybersecurity was very much required. It is more important nowadays, and every time I'm just focusing it. It is driven by government. It is driven by corporates. It is driven by industries, but it should be driven by us as well as an individual. At the end of the day, if you're losing something, you are losing your data, and you are putting your country, your organization in a problem. Please be cautious about it. Don't do anything which is not required for you. Even any application you download, you have to think about it, right? That why I'm downloading it. If it's free, I'm downloading it. No, it's not that. If nothing is free in the world. If someone is giving it something free, that means there is some agenda behind it. You have to think about it. Then we can help each other. We can help our organization. We can help our country, and we can help our world. What is our objective? Our objective is to why internet was there. We can safely share our information, digital information, to the other different people, and we can enrich ourselves. That is our actual objective of getting into the internet, right? That is the objective of this. If we are making something mess out of it, that at the end of the day, who will suffer? We will suffer as an individual, right? Back to you, Nirupam.
Yeah, thank you, Manoj. The interesting thing is that the digital disruption was always kind of something that the organizations were looking at, but the computer viruses and the worms were not able to do it to that extent what COVID-19 has done. A physical virus has I would
Yes.
say, made the digital disruption much faster. So anyway, let's move to Anup. What are the emerging technologies that are becoming very relevant to address these cybersecurity challenges? Your thoughts on?
Uh,
Yeah.
so the emerging technologies, if you look at, there are a number of technologies that comes to my mind, right? So Firstly, I see that that cloud security, as we have talked about digital transformation, and as workloads are moving across the cloud, cloud security is going to be something which is going to be important, right? Because people are breaking their monolithic applications across to microservices, right? And so you've got to protect containers, your Kubernetes, and so on and so forth. And within cloud itself, the governance as to how you govern the cloud, the challenge of managing the assets around the cloud itself is a big emerging technology that one can think of. The other area that I can think of is artificial intelligence and automation. As much as automation has really impacted our lives, we must also be conscious of the fact that bad actors or adversaries are also utilizing AIs and means of AIs, very advanced AI tools, in order to penetrate and hack in an infrastructures or an enterprises environment, right? So cloud AI automations are due to emerging technologies that I see, um, and then the other technologies that really comes to my mind is there's this trend of 5G rollout happening, right? So that really is giving us a lot of computing workloads around the edge, right? So and no longer do we have to wait for some time, right? So a lot of um, robotics and automations are going to come towards, and workloads are going to be in the edge. So that's another area, and it's going to be a challenge for cybersecurity professionals to look at how we are going to manage the edge, right? And then there are other aspects of the technologies that are emerging as well. For example, quantum computing as well, right? So quantum computing security will also become one of the areas that one has to look at. And finally, all that we're talking about, it's networks are still going to be there. We are promoting technologies like zero trust and so on and so forth, micro segmentation and so on. So those are the trends that this will still be there. So if I have got to summarize this, I would say artificial intelligence, automation, machine learning, cloud computing, 5G as technology, quantum computing are areas that emerging trends that technologies that are coming up.
Yeah, thank you, Anup. However, my opinion, no matter what we do, we still will never be 100% secure, as everyone's opinion would be. Yeah, the threat landscape would go on widening, and the hackers would always put in their minds as to how to bypass a vulnerability. Let's move to the career side of it, because we have a lot of students, I suppose, who are wanting to take up cybersecurity as a career. Let's talk to Manoj first. So, what are the career options with cybersecurity for freshers and other IT professionals?
That's a great question, Nirupam. I think I was going through the questions that people have interest in this one, and young guys are waiting there. I'll give a couple of aspects, my experience and some experts what they are talking about as per what kind of skill set is required, what are the opportunities are there in the industry. If you see the Information System Security Certification Consortium, we call it ISC Square, right? They do CISSP training and all. They have done a study, and this year in November 2019 report, they mentioned they were expecting 4 million new jobs. Skill set gaps are already there in 2019. But that means if they have done the study in 2019, that till that time, it was 4 million job skill set gaps were there in cybersecurity space. Even in end of, I think in November, Gartner has first quarter of 2020, Gartner, they come up with a lot of reports that 9 security and risk trends. I think they have done it in September as well. Security risk trend. The first point I was going through this document, that first point was mentioned: skill gaps, cybersecurity skill gaps. If you think this is not a phenomena for India, this is a global phenomena, and everywhere we go and talk. And when I was driving this business, and I was based out of Middle East, in previous role, I was managing managed security services. Here, I was running a SOC in the center. It was a nightmare for me to, if one of my guy, security analyst L1, probably 3 or 4 years of experience, he has come. If he puts up his paper, sir, I'm leaving, then it is nightmare for me, right? Getting a resource is tough job in the cybersecurity space. That's why, if you are going to talk to any customers, whenever I think that day Anup we are discussing, right? Anup was telling, whenever you talk to a people, either it is OEM, if it is a service provider, if it is a government, everybody will ask you, do you know a guy who knows these skill sets? And all the skill sets are required to cybersecurity. And cybersecurity is only totally one within this one domain. A lot of specialization is required. And with these new changes with AI, ML, integrations, and all these things are coming up. And we see a lot of new requirements are coming up, which is very, very helpful for those are actually have done, not in the system side, they were the developers. Some know, some has capability in terms of development capability in terms of Python, they know Java, they know all this stuff. Because when you do integration, it is cybersecurity is not only on the integration part of it. You have got technology, you go and install it, but all these things has to talk together. Then you need a lot of development skills. Now, why I just wanted to mention here the upskilling or somebody I think development piece of it, software development piece is shrinking, because GitHub is there, and now DevOps are coming up, and a lot of technology will actually eliminate a lot of job requirements. But how you can replace this? You can upskill your requirement immediately. If you have probably we people, those who are so-called cybersecurity practitioners, we have done this. We are not that great in terms of writing scripts. We have not done programming after our colleges. The programming skill set is missing. Now, if you see nowadays what was required, you require a lot of programming skills. That means the guy who is there in IT company facing some challenges in terms of jobs, or probably he is, and there is a huge opportunity for him. They can join. You don't need to go to engineering colleges. You go to a professional center. They can give probably 6 months and with your job you can get trained on these technologies. And there is a huge requirement, because why AI and ML is dominating this market, and you need to have some integration. This is one. Second one is, see, I've seen people out there. It is not to be a cybersecurity practitioner. It is not a rocket science. Believe me, you don't need to be a big technocrat, and you have to be a best of the breed student in the college. Then only you can get into cybersecurity. Not at all. What is very important here is you have to have a very good analytical mind. I know, most of the Bengalis are there. I think you all have, this Satish Roy's Feluda. Everybody has Feluda mentality. That Feluda mentality is required to becoming a cybersecurity expert. That means what Anup was mentioning, that zero trust, right? Same thing. It is something like doing an investigation. You cannot trust anyone. Zero trust means there is no boundaries now. Every machine is, you cannot trust it. It is not a trusted network anymore. Then you need to have very good diagnostic skills. That means if something has happened, you need to have why it has happened. What are the links? You have to have very good storytelling capability. That means if you have multiple dots, now you have to connect the dots, stitch together, and you have to get out of it that, okay, what is the actual motive? What is the root cause of this attack? That means, am I sounding very technical? That means these are the capabilities. All guys, all students, young guys, they have these capabilities, and you can, if you nurture that, give the right direction, get a training on it, and you can do this. I will cover that. What are the roles, right? Roles is some of the guys was mentioning ethical hacking. Now you see, even you can be a cybersecurity practitioner, start installing an antivirus software for a company. Endpoint, now we don't call it antivirus, it is anti-malware. Endpoint security, right, is very, very important. There is a lot of requirements of resources that those who go, probably you are passing out from engineering college. I think this is a very good learning process to know the systems. But I just wanted to mention here, before I go into this one, the roles. Cybersecurity is the topmost layer of IT infrastructure. That means you need to know network, some bit of network. You need to know some bit of systems. You need to know some bit of operating system application, how it works, right? Then only you can talk about cybersecurity, because you are securing your network, you're securing your endpoints, you're securing your mobile phones. Then if you start implementing endpoint security solutions, then you will have a huge knowledge about it, and you can actually move up in the ladder in period of time. Then you can be a pen tester. You go and do for CEH, certified ethical hacking. Then another important thing is, some people, they are working in a factory environment. They are mechanical engineers, right? Somehow something is not going well. What you can do? OT security is a new domain, right? Those who has got understanding of Modbus kind of infrastructure protocols. That normally it is IT infrastructure. We are talking about IT security. Now OT security is big important thing. Where is the requirement of OT security? All the factories are automated now. All the steel plants, even oil and gas industries, everywhere OT is required. And OT is also moving towards the cloud, and security is very, very important. And who can help us? You can reskill. If you know this infrastructure, you can reskill yourself in cybersecurity, and it can be a very good opportunity for you. And I can tell you that there's a huge shortage of it. If you go and start, for sake of, you give an advert, the CP, you just give an ad to hire an OT security expert, you see how many CV you receive. You will not receive much of CVs, right? Because this is real challenge. Another is threat hunters. If you have to be predictive, you have to use different tools and technologies like AI and machine learning, and you can be a threat hunter, right? If you're a threat hunter, you have to have a system. You go search everywhere. You need to know the technologies, how to do it. Everything is possible. Another is, all organizations, small organizations, they are very much dependent on IT today to run their business, but they cannot afford to have their resources on-prem, right? Even for their payroll. But security is important for them as well. What they are looking for, service providers, that which is called managed security service providers. They can provide services to them to make their infrastructure safe and secure. And if incident happens, if you are making secure, Nirupam, you are right. If you are making 100% secure, there is no 100% security. There will be some incident. If the incident happens, how to respond to it? Now, for the MSSPs, they are looking for resources big time. And what they recruit, the college pass outs with some security knowledge. That means you can have some certification programs from different schools, and attend some training. You have some understanding of this one. Then you can start probably getting into this SOC analyst role. Once you get to the SOC analyst role, the door is open for you. I'm telling you, not only that, if you can start from a remote places, probably North Bengal or from the Kolkata, you can start from Bangalore, and your sky is the limit. If you have right thing, because a lot of requirements. Slowly, if you increase your capability, people will move out of India, and different large organizations that require that. These are the career opportunities is very much important. And if you see uh, from from um, from sales angles, right? If you now consultancy, another is, whenever a lot of customers, they know they have a challenge, but they don't know how to start, where to start the security. Because you see, as some of the people don't know where to start to become a security practitioner, then a lot of consultants are required. That means consultant means you may not be too deep into one core technology, but you have understanding of different technologies. You have got understanding of this one. Then you can get into GRC model, right? Now, a lot of my region, I have seen, I'm based covering up and all these countries where I've gone, and in mature organization, they have mentioned, okay, you are talking good, but I don't know what is my current state. Can you start from there? Can you do a consultancy for us, that from where I should start my security journey? That means we call it security architecture review. That means if you get into this one, some call it tabletop assessment. You don't need to just understand the organization, what is the business process is, what is the infrastructure, how dependent they are, how critical their data is. Then only you can start threat modeling, and from the threat modeling, you just give a solution to that. That is also another one. But before I finish, I just wanted to this is not a rocket science, but at the same time, I just wanted to highlight here, you have to be very good in terms of presenting whatever is there. You should know how to present it, upskill your communication. And communication is not, doesn't mean that your language. You have to upskill your presentation skill, you have to upskill your communication skill, and you have to be very good in terms of storytelling. If you have a larger picture, then you can stitch everything together and put it in front of the customer for the consultancy as well. So many options are there with cybersecurity. It's not the only word. A lot of professions you can excel, and you can even and I can guarantee that this is the only I think only segment, only career which will not see recession, right? Why? If it is an economic recession, if you see the number of attacks increases. If you see in 2008-9 time, a lot of recessions were there. Not a single security expert, security professional lost their job, because when the guys was actually leaving job, all this cybercrime activities increases, and you need more people to protect. And this pandemic situation, when everybody is there now, people are going working from home, and all this on digitized, and you need more security. That's why security business is growing quarter on quarter, and security professionals jobs are. I think now we are facing bigger challenge to retain our resources. In the last 6 months, because every guys are getting a lot of opportunities for them. Yeah. Thanks. Over to you, Nirupam.
Yeah, thank you, Manojda. That was quite comprehensive, quite encouraging, and good to know that there are so many avenues. I see a lot of bombardments happening with respect to Praxis courses. So before I move to Anup, I'll just pass it on to CP for some time to answer some of the questions on Praxis. Over to you, CP. CP, you're on mute. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been listening to all the experts and learning a lot all this while. And yeah, I saw some of the courses. So I saw one question is that, do you have placement support with a full stop? Then another one with placement, one exclamatory mark. And I think the last one was, do you have placement, three exclamatory marks, right? So I think people are now, they need something, they need to hear something, right? Okay. So yeah, so let me tell you one thing that, we've had people come up to us and say, okay, you have these 5 courses. You have cybersecurity, data science, data engineering. So, tell me, where can I get a placement? Okay. So I can quite empathize that people want to build careers, but this is perhaps the worst way of choosing a career. Isn't it? Because one part of the career is placement, the other part, which is much more important, is you, right? So you need to know what you will enjoy doing and what you are good at, because there are placements in many areas. I mean, drug dealing is massive, but maybe nobody here wants to kind of get into it, right? Irrespective of the risks. I mean, not just you may not even have the capability, right? So I think when we are choosing a career, so I'll just spend 1 minute on it. There are 3 things that need to come together. One thing is, yes, does this domain have opportunity, growth? Does it have potential? And I think everybody says so. And I think the last speech by Mr. Manoj Sarkar, I think he really went into depth. And so the more you listen to it, everybody wants to get into cybersecurity. And I wonder if I were 20-year-old, I would also have got into it, because it is really, really, doing really, really well. Right now, the thing is, the second thing is, do I find it interesting? So whatever you heard today, whatever you know about cybersecurity, do you want to do it for the rest of your life? I mean, if you don't, it doesn't matter how great the placement scene is. And the third is, you heard about what you need to be as a person. You need to have analytical skills. You need to have problem solving skills. I'm not saying problem solving cannot be taught, but basically you should like problem solving. Okay. And communication, structuring your thought, putting it across, being a good listener, because everybody will be bombarding you with their problems, because you will be a problem solver for the company. Is that something you want to do? So that's your passion. So I think if you think that all 3 are okay, I think it's a great career option. And I mean, I said 3 million. I think Manoj said 4 million. The number, I mean, whether it's global or within India, is so big that it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter whether it is 3 or 4 million, because there are enough jobs. That's the answer, right? and it is completely recession free. So are jobs like data science and data engineering, because these are all skills that are going to be required more and more because data generation is going to increase. Okay, so this was a small context. Now I have actually written this down because everybody said, "What do you guys teach?" So we have a full-time course, which is a 9-month course, and which where you have to kind of devote full time to it. So I just wrote it down so that I don't miss anything. So we cover areas like infra security, database security, application security, both web and mobile, cloud security. We also teach AI and ML, and we are very well equipped to do that because we have a course, 9-month full-time course in that, because we think preventive, cybersecurity will become more and more important because you'll be able to predict what might happen looking at patterns, right? And so we actually take you through that, and we obviously we teach you the OS Linux, and we also teach you Python, because a lot of, as Manav said, scripting is important, knowing a language is important. Python is probably the most popular language now, and it's also required for your ML. And then there were questions on deep web and dark web, so we teach you that also. We teach you what it can do rather than how to be good at it. Yeah. Okay. And then we teach you. We are also covering the security of operation center, SOC, malware analysis, and digital forensics, IoT security, incident management. So it's and I personally teach courses in problem solving and communication skills. So I was very delighted when Mano said that is very important, because I think we need you to be able to stick, also be able to define a problem. This is happening in the company. What is the real problem? Am I good at problem statement? And then am I good at solving the problem? Am I good at critical thinking? Can I look at all the aspects? Right? And then can I go and tell a story? How do I improve my communication, which again requires structured thinking. So you need to be either very good at structured thinking, or you need to be passionate about becoming a better structured thinker, because I personally feel it can be taught and it can be learned. More than taught, it can be learned. It's a way of looking at life from as a thinker, rather than as somebody who loves the WhatsApp university and is very happy to believe whatever is sent to him or her by a group of friends who think just like him or her, right? So then that's what's happening nowadays. Like, you become part of groups and you think similarly, you get that same thing, and you are happy with it. But as a cybersecurity expert, you have to be just the opposite. You have to be skeptic about everything you get. You have to look at everything suspiciously. As like the Feluda, I think there were a couple of people who probably are not familiar with Feluda, and they said, what kind of mentality? So Feluda is a legendary detective created by Satyajit Roy, so you have to be a detective, right? So this is what we cover. And the last thing I will cover is the lab. So we have, I think one of our strengths is the lab we have, which covers things like network penetration infrastructure, application penetration testing infrastructure, SOC. We have a cyber range with red team capability, and we have wireless penetration testing also. And right now, we are actually delivering training on behalf of the state cybersecurity COE to government officials. We are very proud to be associated with them. And we are doing some short-term courses in collaboration with BSI also. We are hosting their courses. And we are again joining hands with CSI, because we want to bring more short-term and maybe long-term courses to you across the web, and in different, maybe hybrid, because you may be time poor, you may not be able to leave your job, you want to reskill. I think we need to have products with you also. If you are a fresher, I would strongly advise go through a big program, get to learn the fundamentals, and join this. And there was the last thing was there were questions on, do we have a placement assistance? We have a campus placement program in place. Our first batch will be graduating in a couple of months, and we already into CV preparation and sending their CVs out to the corporate world. And we have huge number of recruiters for our data science and PGDM programs, and those are the recruiters who are coming and asking us for cybersecurity experts. So this is, in short, a little bit of Praxis and a little bit of how you need to think about your careers, and not jump into something just because there are jobs, right? Yeah. Thanks, Nirupam.
Yeah, thank you, CP. Uh, what Manojda also mentioned, CP also touched upon, and if you look at ISC Square's common body of knowledge, cybersecurity is beyond ethical hacking. It has 10 domains, which also CP touched upon, which is being taught by Praxis. So you need to learn all these 10 domains to become a cybersecurity expert. So let's move to Anup. Your take on why should cybersecurity be a very interesting career, and why should it be a recession-free career?
So very interesting, actually. Manoj and Sipita, already touched upon to most of the points. But I also actually noted that there is 4 million skill set gap in the market, and that means there is a job in the market for you to come and join, right? But I want to touch upon something which is there is 0% unemployment. Isn't it an attractive, motivation for aspiring students to come into a field where there is no unemployment, right? And so I wanted to touch upon one thing which is important is we are looking at the diversity factor as well, right? So we want to encourage. I've seen a lot of women participants also joining in here, right? So we would encourage females to come into this field of technology, right? There is a diversity expect of it, which really every organization is trying to fulfill. And that diversity gap can only be fulfilled when women like all of you who have come in and are trying to understand what career is all about. Come and join cybersecurity. We'll welcome. I also wanted to highlight that cybersecurity job actually has a real impact. Right? It's a meaningful impact. It makes impact to your lives. For example, there has been a massive recall of pacemakers, right? Pacemakers because of security reasons. So can you imagine that that you are participating in an industry where you are making a difference to people's lives? There are a number of other cases that you can talk about, right? There has been the motivations that you see, right? For example, the Equifax hack impacted 145 millions of Americans, and and if you can make a difference to their lives, you really make an impact, right? So those are some of the points that I wanted to talk about, right? So and so cybersecurity matters, right? It has impacts that extend beyond what we call the digital world and into the physical world as well.
Right. Thank you, Anup. Two interesting takes one from Manojda and one from Anup. As Manojda said that irrespective of the economic recession, cybersecurity is always a recession-free career, because we find a lot of jobs that are being lost during this pandemic situation, but you won't find a cybersecurity professional or an expert who's working in an organization losing his job, because the threat landscape, as I said earlier, will go on increasing irrespective of it being an economic recession or not. Number two, yes, the companies these days are looking at gender diversity. Very important take. I get to learn a lot of things during these moderations that I do, because yes, gender diversity is an important factor. We always see a lot of men coming into cybersecurity, but we don't see a lot of women, I would say, having a lot of acumen or wanting to know cybersecurity as a whole. So good point that Anup did touch upon. Let's go to Kochikda. So what are the cybersecurity from a company perspective? What are the cybersecurity skills that the companies are looking for?
Yeah, so I think Manoj has covered it well at length, because he spoke about many areas where companies are looking for skills. But again, to sum it up, a couple of things, like I may talk about 11 skills which are currently demanded in the market. So one of the first skill which Manoj also mentioned about the SOC, security operations. Now earlier days when organization used to think that if you place some devices like firewall or IPS or antivirus, that will take care of the security. But eventually, what happened, that organization have started realizing that those devices are not only going to protect them, it has to be the whole, the program has to be visible. So bring more visibility, bring more proactive, culture rather than reactive culture. and that brought SOC into the front phase. And now probably, Anup and Manush can add about XDR and MDR and EDR. There are so many terms are used, but primarily what those things are bringing is three things. One is it is bringing complete visibility of what is happening right now from your security point of view. That is one. Second is how do you detect it quickly? That is incident response, which Manush also talked about. How do you detect the incidents at the right time, and how do you respond it? So mean time to detect, mean time to triage, mean time to response, and all those things are coming, at play. And the third and probably the most important thing is that how can you predict? Because detect, with the moment you utter the term detect, it is reactive. That means something has happened, now you're detecting it. So organizations are asking for, okay, detecting is past. I want to know that what kind of threat I'm going to face tomorrow. So give me some predictive analysis, a preemptive analysis of threat. Manush talk about the security maturity assessment, right? Okay, the moment you do that, you know the current position of the organization, and based on that, you can take corrective actions to bring in more proactiveness rather than handling everything in a reactive way. So that is one. SOC is coming up in a big way. A lot of skills are required, L1, L2, L3. However, there is a trend that we see in SOC automation, where because my role is basically to deliver SOC across the globe. So I build SOC for other organizations. So that's my core area. So in one of the bank in Thailand, they asked us, okay, I want to eliminate the L1 part completely. I want that layer to be completely automated. There won't be any L1 engineer. There will be only L2 and L3. L2 means L2 plus plus. That means they are advanced level of L2, and L3 who can do threat hunting, who can do active defense, who can do a couple of other stuff which are very high end, like SOC automation, so on and so forth. Okay, so another big area is GRC, that is governance, risk, and compliance, which is age old, and it will remain a top asking role for the organization going forward as we see more and more digitization happening. So more and more compliance requirement will come in, and organizations like BSI would help and train more and more students going forward and produce these skills. Next is incident response. I mentioned security automation. I mentioned security software development, which also touched upon. So huge requirement for product development, security product development. Okay, so there are for that you need software development capability in Python, Java, C++, and other languages with a security flavor in it. Okay. Next is cloud security, big part, because cloud adoption is happening at a very fast pace, and what industry is predicting that 30 to 40% jump post COVID will happen. So definitely cloud security is to be watched out. Another area which is also becoming very important is DevSecOps, agile, site reliability engineering, that is SRE. These kind of skill sets are into coming into the picture, where you basically secure the entire development life cycle, that is SDLC. Okay, another skill which Manush also talked about, that is penetration testing, but I call them red team, though little bit of subtle difference is there. But red team ask or red team projects are becoming very popular among the organizations, where they have been given a set of goals to go and do certain investigation and find out where is the lacuna, and then help the blue team. So basically the main job of a red team is to make the blue team perform better. Okay, so that is the thing. And the another that is a 10th skill probably I will talk about is a cyber forensic. Okay, where you need very specialized skill, like analytical skill, to find out what happened. Because as we see attacking things are growing, there will be a lot of cyber laws coming into the picture, and people will look for that, how can you prosecute offenders. Okay, the moment you go into that path, what you need is evidence, collection of evidence, storage of evidence, handling of evidence, so on and so forth. So cyber forensic will be a very sought after skill. And last but not the least is the IoT security, okay, which is also going to be so in summary, probably 11 skills I can highlight on, which is required by the companies.
Thank you, Kaushik. One thing that I would also like to add here, Kaushik mentioned did mention about the GRC domain. the courses that we teach with Praxis, that also covers an international standard, which is ISO 27032. That's the guidelines or the best practices related to cybersecurity. So that is also taught at Praxis. If you guys want to learn, that will help you in your careers as well. So let me ask two questions to Anup in together, I would say, because we will run short of time. So what are the areas of specialization in your I mean, in your terms, and what skill set do you think that one should require to be a successful cybersecurity professional?
So yeah, I think Manoj and Kaushik has very elaborately covered most of the skills that that one can specialize on, right? Whether it is threat hunting services, and I'm just repeating as to what you guys have talked about. Whether you being part of a security operations center, whether you are an incident handler, as an analyst, whether you are L1 and 2 L3 analyst or a business analyst from a SOC standpoint. You can be a part of the incident response team. You can also, there are the aspects that you talked about, GRC, right? Risk, compliance, governance. This is another area that you can specialize on. Cloud security, as Kaushik said, and I started off talking about cloud being one of the major drivers of change. Uh, that's that's a big area. In fact, cloud security itself, there's an area of governance. There is an area of how you manage workloads or computes around the cloud. And one of the points which maybe a couple of the panelists might have missed is identity access management. Uh, Identity access is another big area, right? Although digital forensics and other areas that we talked about are definitely going to be important. Penetration tester, as Manu said, and talking about the red team, blue team of the sector. Right? So there are, in essence, there is a gamut of what is specialized for within the cybersecurity domain, right? For me, for example, I just specialize in a very small domain, which is automation and SOC automation, right? So, and then I'm just trying to evolve myself to what we call managed detection and response. So, it is such a big thing. But as Sikida mentioned, right, that your love and passion for the technology that you wanted to take as your career, I just wanted to highlight one important point. As much of areas that you have, your desire to learn is going to be very, very key. And you've got to, if you have the aptitude to learn every time, at my age as well, if the day I stop thinking that I don't have the desire to learn, I will have to say goodbye to this field. And so technologies will evolve, as even if you learn some and you do your certification, you complete your post graduation, but your learnings never ends. Your job learning never ends. Every day there has to be a learning. The day that learning stops, you will be out of the field. So that I wanted to tell you to all those who have been listening. I mean, to see so many people still for 1.5 hours is itself a testimony showing your interest within cybersecurity, right? And from an aspect of couple of things that I wanted to highlight. The skill set that you required, as I said, desire to learning. Manoj did talk about problem solving skills, the technical aptitude, knowledge of security across various domains. That is also key. Because you've got to collaborate, you're going to talk, and you're going to find out, right? There's an avalanche of threats that has, that the adversaries are attacking an enterprise, right? So you have got to have that broad spectrum of knowledge. Understanding of hacking, fundamental computer forensics. Computer forensics is another, and I think Kaushik has touched upon that is a very important aspect of it. So to summarize, automation is another aspect of it, right? But automation, again, one would say that automation will take off a lot of job. And Kaushik did talk about, L1 in a Thailand bank. Yes, there are cases today, use cases that people are saying that, can we automate L1 job? What does L1 mean basically? Basically means jobs which are repeatable, which are consistent, which are sequential, which are a set of tasks. And if you know that a set of tasks are from this to the next, and you know each of the tasks properly, then you can automate. But we have got to be also we very loosely utilize this word called automation, because you don't automate what you don't know. You automate what you know. So we have got to be careful of what we automate, right? So this prescription of automation everywhere doesn't work. And so the better word is basically maybe orchestration, how you bring in people, process, and technology all put together, combine that. In essence, drives more efficiency and productivity in a SOC or in enterprise, right? So yeah, so mostly I think I've covered what and most of the panelists would have covered most of the points, right? Instead of being repetitive, I'll hand it over back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Anup. We'll maybe take one or two questions with the future trends or maybe the technologies coming with respect to cybersecurity. Let me ask Kaushik here, which is a very important question and quite relevant. I have seen one or two questions similar to this. So, to become a cybersecurity professional, does one need to have the engineering or the computer science background?
Yeah, so I think Anup and Manoj both have just briefly spoke about it. That really you do not need, and there are so many practical examples. I can highlight some of them definitely. In Cisco, the leader, the security leader who is charge of delivery of security services in APJ is a person from Calcutta University with a background of history, BA in history. Okay, that is his, not science, not engineering, forget about computer, nothing. Now he's the delivery head of security services and doing excellent, extremely well from a customer's feedback point of view, and his knowledge and what drive that person. I strongly believe that person is driven by passion. So what CP also mentioned, Anup and Manoj also touched upon, that it's not that you want to do a job because there is a job. You need to be really passionate about doing that particular, and then only you can deliver. So I would rather strongly suggest that if you're looking for a job, just a job, probably security may not be a good fit for you. Go and look somewhere else. But if you're really passionate about security, come and do it. That is where you can really help yourself and help organization to progress and protect. So just to answer your question, summary is you don't require anything other than a passionate mind to get into to jump into the cybersecurity field.
Yeah, thank you, Kaushik. Just a few things on the future trends in cybersecurity. Let me talk to Manoj here. Security operations centers are being set up. So how does a modern SOC function, and why is it required? And if you can just touch upon a little bit on the XDR and how does it help in managing the modern SOC services?
Great, Nirupam. I think people may think now. You see, every country is coming up a big time data sovereignty laws, right? They don't want their data should go out, and there's a requirement, especially who is actually highest spender in terms of security deployment or IT infrastructure. Government, banking and financial organizations, and infrastructure industries, large industries, oil and gas industries and big industries, right? What they will do, everybody is actually looking for building their own SOC, right? What is SOC? SOC means, I think everybody has spoken about it. Anup has mentioned, Kaushik has mentioned. SOC is all about people, process, and technology. Three things. And what comes first? People. You cannot eliminate people. It is automation, but it is orchestration. We're talking about orchestration. Why? If you see in the SOC analyst, if it's an L1 engineer, he is doing the repetitive task. One incident comes up, he has to respond to this one in 15 minutes time frame. This is sometimes it's boring, right? And you are doing same thing. You are not putting your minds there. But one analytical mind, and if he's doing a repetitive job every time, after some time he may lose their interest. What it does actually, it's open up, because the objective of SOC has changed. It is not only incident response for the customer. We want that L1 resources to be uplifted to L2 and L2++ requirement, that they can spend more time in hunting rather than responding. That means, what is the objective? We talk about SOC maturity curve. SOC maturity curve is, you are building a SOC, you are receiving 100 incidents a day, right? What is how we can tell this? The attacks will increase, and your infrastructure will increase, but your objective has to reduce the number of incidents. If I am reducing the number of incidents, it doesn't mean that eliminating the resource who is working in the SOC. That means, instead of responding to the events, his job was to actually identify threats. It's a more proactive. He will go and finding out, right? Okay, what next things are coming up. He can spend more time into it. That's why the automation is important. And orchestration is the right word. Is orchestration. Orchestration is, you are having multiple tools and technologies, right? Initially, the SOC was providing only SIM. Right now, we're talking about SOAR, security, orchestration, automation, and response. Then you have to cyber threat intelligence into it. You have to have MDR. You have to have Xdr, ticketing tool. You have got the identity and access management. Now, everybody is looking for integrating everything together, because there is an organization called MITRE. The MITRE has got APT 29 framework, that what kind of attacks is coming up. If you have to do that, then what are the consequences of the attack, how it has happened. Now, all these things should be there in the same console. For that, you need development capability, you need automation, you need orchestration, but nothing is actually eliminating the job of our resources. And it is increasing. Day by day, every organization will ask to build their SOC, and without SOC, they will not be able to survive. They need to have this one. Second one is, what is XDR? XDR is a new terminology. Is what Gartner says is actually extended detection and response. Now, initially there's a EDR. EDR was endpoint detection and response. That is only related to endpoints, right? Endpoints means your laptop, your desktops, your all this stuff. Now, what is we have observed that, okay, you get to know there is a problem in the endpoints, and you need to respond automatically. That means you do the forensic of, if not forensic, do the analysis of the attacks and root cause analysis, then you can actually remediate something. That means if I have find a machine, which machine is infected, it has to be quarantined from the network, logically quarantined from the network. If I can do it from only single console, that is the job of EDR. But if you see the cyber kill chain, there is all 7 stages of cyber kill chain. Now, I have received a mail. I have sent that mail is actually the malicious mail, the spam or phishing attack. I have shared this mail to Nirupam and Kaushik and Cake with and Anu. Now, in that case, what has happened? Only all 4 of us has received the mail, but only I have clicked the mail where the malware is dropped, right? That means if you have only EDR solution, then what you are doing it, you are actually concentrating on the machines, you are repairing it, trying to do the root cause, but you are missing one link. That means from where it has come. It has come from the mail. That means there are 3 potential users who can again click into it. That means what is our job as an XDR? I can integrate our email into it. I can integrate my endpoint into it. I should integrate my server infrastructure into it. I have to integrate my network into it. Then I have the larger picture of the threat landscape. That means what has happened to my network, and it helps the security analyst we call it a workbench, goes to the workbench. It is actually giving him instead of going to different log sources, identifying the threats, it gives a one console. From console, he understands, clicks, okay, how many users have received this mail, how many machines have actually users have downloaded that mail, and what is the impact, what file is there, whether it has gone to a URL, which is a bad reputed URL. And everything can be done from a console where you can remediate this. Let's say if I have received a mail, that mail, I have clicked into it, but Anup and Kaushik has not clicked into it. What I can do, the SOC analyst sitting on the SOC, he can get into this one console, he can actually quarantine that mail or delete the mail. That means you are potentially saving 2 other incidents to come to you. That is the objective of advanced SOC and XDR in place, and which is not eliminating the job requirement, which is helping you to do better job in terms of incident response.
Yeah. Thank you, Manoj. That's quite detailed enough. Anup has already touched upon the automation, cybersecurity being automated in due course of time. So we are running short of time. So for the students, one final question to Kaushikda. If I want to take up cybersecurity as a career, just your brief points on a step-by-step guide.
Okay, so first you need to take a fundamental course or a basic course on cybersecurity to understand what it is, understand the broad aspects of it, not the depth. Okay, because that's where, as every panelist spoke about, that in cybersecurity there are so many domains. You have SOC, you have incident response, you have GRC, you have auditor, you have red team, so many things. So first you understand the fundamentals, and the second approach would be to equip yourself with the right kind of training and certification on any one or two domains of that, out of that fundamental thing. Say for an example, if you do CISSP is broad, it is not deep. So CISSP with this 10 domains will give you enough understanding about the entire cybersecurity field, which includes physical security as well. Okay, and from there you can find out what is your interest area, and then you build capabilities around that. Okay, so that is your second step. And third step is that you get into a mode where you are getting exposed to various organization environment to work on particular field like GRC or SOC or incident response or red team, and build skill on that particular subject. Say you can go for SAN certification on very, very specialized skills, and can, so one guidance is that, never stop learning. The moment in any field, especially in security, because hackers are 2 steps ahead of you. So if you want to really protect your organization from those hackers, you have to be at par with them at least. Okay, and for that you have to always keep on learning. That is, and I always follow that very famous word, and that's called, you keep learn, unlearn, and relearn. So that is the only way forward, and make yourself mature enough in the security field.
Thank you, Kaushikda. Yes, a never-ending career, and the learning should never stop as well. We did stretch a little bit in this session, and some of you may have had a stack overflow. So we'll end this session now. Interesting thing is you got twice the learning, because there were two parallel sessions going on. One in the Q&A section, a lot of stuff was answered in that itself, and the rest of it was going on in the panel. So thank you very much to all the panelists, Kaushikda, Manojda, and Anup, and also to the members of CSI and to CP. What you can do is you have our email IDs, or maybe you can get in touch with Praxis. If you have any questions, we can always answer that. Thank you very much for your participation. Bye to everyone. Thanks.
Thanks,
I
Nirupam.
just want to
Yes,
want
please.
to add one thing,
Yes, sure, please.
Nirupam.
Please.
Some of the participants have raised a question as to whether they can get some certificates for attending this program, if I'm not wrong. If that is so, probably we can issue a joint certification where both Praxis and CSI can give a joint certification, but it will be only e-certificates. So if it is okay, maybe probably you can take the call.
Yeah, sure. Saurabh, you can take the call with Praxis. I think it would be appreciated. CP, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for the participation.
Yes,
Thanks a lot.
Thank
Thanks a
you.
lot.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Bye.
Thanks.